know you had an amazing amount of them that you made.
How's that?
I know there's an amazing amount of them made by you. It's wonderful you've kept figures on these things so that we have some account of what was made by you.
Right here.
The Delmer shop carries notes, let's see, 1910 to 1920. You made 8,203 carriers. In 10 years, 8,203 carriers made and sold. Delmer C. Wilson. That certainly is it was a big industry with you.
Well, now, that I made more than that some years. See, well, 1 year, as I show you, I have a record of 1,083.
1,083, that's right.
But I built a few before that. Well, of course, this before. But some years I'd approach that, and some years I wouldn't, see?
Right.
But during the season, during the 10 years, you see, the company had been 1,000 a year.
Oh, that's a tremendous amount. That's really...
And then after 1920, I kept a building for, 8 or 10 years after that, but not such a number.
We kiddingly asked you one time what you did in your spare time, Delmer, and I think you said you made a couple more, didn't you?
Yeah, I made some more, sure.
Well, that little set that you showed us just a little while ago, made of black cherry wood, is the most amazing
I
set.
had those exhibited over here at the Gloucester Fair, and I had other sizes, sold the larger sizes from those up to, so I had a dozen of them. And then I let the sisters sell those up at Palm Springs because they're attractive. I said, well, I can make some more, but I never come to that point.
Right.
I had a dozen of them.
You said the smallest one was so small you had to fold a postage stamp a couple of times.
3 times,
Three times in order to fit inside of the smallest one, giving you some idea what a very, very small box that was.
And that had a lid on it.
Well, now what type of woods did you use? I know you mentioned black cherry, but you used other kind of wood too, Delmer.
Oh, beech, maple, and birch. Birch was a nice hand of wood to work, but it wasn't firm enough.
I understand apple wood too was another.
Apple wood, cherry and apple wood.
Cherry and apple.
Apple wood is a finer grain than the cherry, but you don't get such perfect lumber, the length we want.
I suppose so. The tree's not growing as maybe as large as big around.
Right. The way, and out in the while the wind would sway it more.
Well, now, in the making of these oval boxes, at one time they sold them in nests, didn't they? One inside of the other one?
No, we never sold them.
You didn't sell them that way here?
We didn't sell any.
That was that way down at Mount Lebanon, but
all
here,
single sale.
Here was a single box.
We used to sell a lot to the Canadian people. I used to trade at Scarborough Beach and Prouts Neck and Old Orchard, and you'd see more Canadian people there. There's very fine people to deal with.
Yes.
And they were very much pleased. And I used to take orders for the Shaker cloak that originated in Canterbury.
Right.
We had to buy that broadcloth from Germany. And so it happened that in selling the few I had in the trunk and taking orders, measuring from the front button to the back button to the floor, and then 2 inches off at that time. What did people do with such a cloak as that these days?
That'd be
They're
very
called
long,
opera cloak.
Yes.
So I sold 1 year. I sold cloaks and orders to come to 60 in one season. And there's no other person ever did that.
60 cloaks in one season?
60 cloaks in one season.
That's a lot of...
And they went from $27 to $54. The price of them.
Certainly you were a good salesman, Delmer. Well, you're a man, whatever you seem to do, you're a master.
Well, I tell you, I enjoyed it, and what you enjoy, you look for. I met a man down to Northeast Harbor. See, on Mount Desert Island, there was Bar Harbor, Northeast Harbor, and Seal Harbor that I'd patronize. Then I'd go across the bay, Frenchman Bay, over to Winter Harbor.
Yes.
Then when I started back to Bangor, I'd stop at Sullivan and Hancock, and I think there was one other place I can't remember. I'd stop in Bangor overnight, then go up to Mount Kineo House. Took 3 nights up there. One day to go up 20 miles on Moosehead Lake, halfway up the lake.
Well, did you ever travel with Elder Henry Green?
No.
No.
The only time that Elder Henry, he accompanied one time in Portland. I was going over to Cushion's Island, another place. Down to Cushion's Island and Scarborough Beach and Prouts Neck and Old Orchard nearby. Then we went to Naples and nearby that, and Palm Springs repeatedly. Well, I was down to Portland one time. Elder Henry said, well, Delmer, you got any special business? Why, I'm going over to the Ottawa House. Canadian portion. And he said, "You mind if I go over there?" I said, "Not at all." So when he got over there, he was walking around, he met one of his old cronies from the mountain. He drove up to the mountain 50 years.
That's right, they call him the old man of the mountain.
Sure.
Yep.
So one of these strangers said, "Well, Henry," he said, "you drive over with your old horse?" "Oh, no, it's a little bit sloppy." Portland Harbor.
Portland Harbor, I guess it was. He must have been quite a character from all I've heard about. He must have been quite a wit from all I've heard about.
He was.
He was quite a man. Quite often, as I go about lecturing, I run into different people who say, "I remember the Shakers back when there was a man they called the old man of the mountain, used to come selling things."
Go up there with a horse and express.
Yeah.
It's a wonder somebody hadn't stopped him on the highway.
Now, you were in charge for many years of the orchards here, Delmer.
I started that. I've begun to put trees, plant trees, and previous to that I did grafting. And there was a man down east here toward Bangor, not so far as Bangor, because that isn't an apple section, but Waterville, no place. I understood that a gentleman there, an old farmer, he said, orchardist, he said, "Any young man that'll put in science, I'll supply them." And he sent me science, I think, 3 different seasons. And I put them into Ben Davis stock.
I see.
At one time, the whole country was mainly Ben Davis, and the only way they was fit to use is give them a sea ride.
That's right. They used to send them to England, didn't they?
They said they'd improve.
Right.
Well, I put in these science, and I don't know as I ever lost one. A year or 2 ago, I had some golden trees up here, and the mice damaged 10 or a dozen. I cut science on a nearby tree and put them in. Every one died. I was surprised. I thought an old hand did. One of the neighbors down there, Merrill, he said, "Well, Delmer," I said, "what science did you use?" I said, "I took them off another tree, different than what I was grafting." Well, he said, "I understand," he said, "science has to be cut early and put into the cellar. So
Stored for a while.
Before there's a particle of sap starts."
Yes.
And I was shooting them sap and all and lost every science.
Generally, they store them, I think, in sawdust, don't they, at a cold temperature?
That's good, but
I
you've
believe
got to
so.
cut them before the sap starts.
Right.
Right in cold weather.
Well, now, what type of apples was the most popular with you here at Sabbath Day Lake?
Macintosh.
The Macintosh is
Macintosh
your
is
bestseller?
the bestseller for all of the orchard, and it's a good producer. I had Macintosh and Cortland. Some people are not acquainted with the Cortland apple, but it's the best cooking apple our people
That's
know.
a good apple.
And Cortland,
Right.
and some Baldens, and Red Delicious, and Golden Delicious, and Greenings, and we had a few Winter Banana.
Did you ever try any of the real unique varieties? I mean the old-fashioned varieties that like the Maiden Blush or the Golden Ball?
No,
or the
no,
Russets?
Never tried
How about
them.
Russets?
Those are kind of off the market.
They were off the market, so they weren't worth bothering with. Now, besides being in charge of the orchard, you're also a beekeeper, Delmer. How did you learn how to take care of bees?
I bought a book from Root Company.
Oh, yeah.
The Bee Man.
The root, isn't it?
It's called ABC in Bee
XYZ
Culture,
in Bee
and
Culture.
it's nearly 2 inches through.
Right.
I studied
I have a
that
copy myself.
page
That's
after
quite a book.
have you really?
Right.
And then I went at it gradually and talked with other bee men, and I didn't make a great success. They swam away from me. About 3 years ago, you're very sick, be more sophisticated. If you've got a good queen, and those have to come from the south, you buy a cluster of bees for about $6 or $7 in old time, 3 or 4 pounds, and there's instruction for installing them into your hive. And I had a queen that I had 7 portions of hive, and I sent those supers that had because I'd give 2 brood chambers for the
Yes,
queen.
right.
I understand the queen will lay as high as 2,000 eggs in a day.
I understand they'll outweigh themselves in the production of eggs.
From that, those flakes of honey in frames, I took to Poland, they extracted 83 pounds of liquid honey.
From each frame? I mean, from each
No,
section?
the complete hive, the queen swarm.
Yes.
And I've never been able to get any sense. They swam away from it. For the very reason, when this queen, she, of course, if she passed away, be another queen there in Egypt, and they will mate with a woods bee, and they don't know anything about honey business. And it reverts back to the, instead of advancing, to go backward. You buy a queen, and she's raised in a tent, well, she's mated with pure
Pure stock. I see.
Honey producer. That's where I get my big farm from.
Well, certainly you're a man of many talents. You're a wonderful photographer. I know you took one of the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen of the Poland Springs Hotel up there.
That picture of the Poland Spring, I don't doubt what there's been 50,000 cards made of it. I let the merchant have the use of it, you see.
Yes.
I had some of my best pictures I had made in Germany. I had a booklet, or I don't know what you call it, a folder of 12 pictures made in France. But I had them made in Detroit, I had them made in Boston, and New York, and Detroit, and I think some in Indiana. I must have sold over 100,000 photographs, pictures. Not all retail, but different people that would handle them.
Well, Delmer, tell me something about some of the items manufactured here at Sabbath Day Lake. I understand they made one of the first horse mowing machines. Is that true?
Oh, that's quite an interesting story. Hewitt Chandler was a trustee here when I know him. I understand he came here as a little boy, and I've been told that one of the sisters at our office building had charge of him as a child. And one day he was playing around, because there wasn't any automobiles then to run around holding over everybody. And she hunted all around and couldn't find Lee Hewitt. Up in our garden plot, the further part is now, there was an old blacksmith shop. And she heard a little tinker, and she went in there, and he had started a forge in that fire and was trying to make a knife blade. That's when he was a child. Well, all through his growing up, he had charge of the garden and the farm, the like of that. And Elder Delmer told him that he was so conscientious that if he didn't do every stroke of work he should in that garden at night, he went and confessed it. He said, I don't feel justified in my day's service. He lived here. I came in the 8th of January. He left here in the May following.
But he's the one responsible for
he invented that mowing machine, and he, in our big mill down here, they had a machine shop, and he had other help. They made and sold 100 of those horse mowing machines in a year.
Gee, that was a big operation in those days, wasn't it? Because that was all handmade, and they had their own foundry there, did they?
No, that had to be done in Auburn.
They had the foundry work done there.
He made the patterns.
Yes.
And then that's why you'd make my heaters. I'd make all the patterns, take them to Auburn and make them up.
And then they would be
fit them up, put them together.
Well, now, Delmer, we'd like to ask you a little bit about the medicinal herb industry here at the village. I understand that when you were a youngster, you used to help make some of the tamar laxative pills.
I know the young people did. Elder Delmer and Elder Slizzy and Sister Serenia and Sister Ada would take a batch of, it is made from a fruit compound.
Yes.
I don't know all the processes. But they were cut into little pills, very much as large as a common checker, not quite so heavy. Mm-hmm. They put those on the market. After a while, there was a complaint that they become wormy. Insects were attracted to them. So then they had to go to work and make some boards, foot long, all covered with about 40, 50 sharp needles. And we boys have to stick those pills all over there, and they're dipped into gelatin so
to be coated over.
Coated over to protect them.
Yes.
So after that, the trade sprung up that it made quite a sale.
Well, I guess that's what I had in mind when I asked you about that you would help make them. You used to stick them on the little boards when you were a youngster.
Prick your fingers once.
I bet you did. Those needles, I've seen
those.
those.
Mainly in Portland and Boston. I don't think they ever went any further than that. And I think that they continued for about 15 years for a guess.
Can you think of any of the other medicines that you manufactured here?
No, I don't know of any.
Let's
see, here was something that one of the sisters, Elder Prudence Stickney, I don't know why she got wise to it, but she asked the boy to collect some bay bush on the shores of our lake.
Yes.
It's called snap bush. You bend it, it'll snap right off. We'd bring up a whole bushel. And she'd take in those buds, she'd steep those buds and make a tea, and then make a soap or something like that of the extract. And when I came here, there was a horse teamster that had a cancer on the lip. And by bathing that, drinking that tea, and bathing it with this ointment that she made, it cured it up.
I see.
That's supposed to be a fact.
I see. Well, it's quite a marvelous medicine, wasn't it?
That's the only other thing besides the laxatives I know of.
That you made here.
Sure.
Of course, Mount Lebanon, we know, made a
Oh, yeah,
great industry in the making of all sorts of medicines.
They made a business of it.
Right. Well, now, Delmer, could you tell us something about your credo? You have some very interesting ideas about your credo. You have some very interesting ideas on religion and philosophy and so forth.
Oh,
so,
on religion?
Yes. So could you tell us?
Well, I'll tell you. Here's a few that I've selected and also written a few. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. There is hardly an hour in the day but what I can feel the approval of good spirits in my efforts, or disapproval if an unwise move is made. Not only spirits, but by the holy messengers of heaven wait upon us daily. Wherever thy mission does call thee to serve, my spirit will go with thee there. Quotation. It is worth everything in this world to us to feel we are working with God and that God is directing good spirits to work with us. Every kind word or deed is one step nearer our goal. Better suffer wrong than to do wrong. I often thank God for his great favors and blessings extended to me. Do we gain or lose when the clouds lower and we seem to be stumbling in the dim light? Do the little garden crops cease to grow in the storms? I doubt it. God deals with us wisely if we humbly trust in him. Deeds, not believe, is a pathway to heaven. God gave them the desire of their heart, but sent leanness into their souls. Seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. That's all.
Well, these are the things, the little quotations and scriptures that have impressed you so much, Delmer. Well, certainly you've been a living example of the things you believe in. Your work everywhere points to your inspiration and your... I know the sisters tell me they never look about the village, but what they see, your mark left here and everything you've done.
Here's something that would be interesting. A young man living down in this neighborhood many, many years wrong for my day, named Grand Romero. He came to our public meetings. Of course, this part had been told to me. His name was Grand Romero, and he became converted. He left his farm, he left his wife, he left his daughter, done through law, he let him have his property. He must have been in his 30s. Before that, he'd lived quite an excited life in a way, playing a violin at dances and the like of that, and having a good time. When he came here, he left it all. He was taken ill with an abscess on the spine when he was 39. And the sisters saw and brothers saw that he was slipping. They waited upon him, and finally he didn't last a great while. The elders Hester Adams, that I speak of here, the minister's sister, she said, well, Brother Granville said, how can we live without you? He said, I'll see that somebody comes here to take my place. I consider I'm the man. Mm-hmm. Time and again, when I've been in a jam, I've felt his spirit directing me. That's where my success is anchored.
Yes, yes.
I truly believe that to be a fact.